What's up, y'all? Sparty here. Okay, this is a video I've been wanting to do since the V30 has been announced. This is going to be a comparison between V10, V20, and V30. Now, keep in mind, I've only had the V30 for a day, so I don't know everything as far as quirks and stuff like that. I'm going to go off sheer hardware and software experience based off of what it's been like at the moment. I don't know why that's coming up. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, so LG V10 versus V20. If shit won't stop fucking. Oh my god. Sorry, I just got a shit ton of notifications because I had this. Oh, now it's gonna be. It's gonna be updating apps. I'm not gonna have that. Sorry about that. What the fuck? Why'd this come on? I don't know why that came on, but keep in mind when you're trying to do a review of any sort, don't keep your phone off for a super long time. Otherwise, you're going to be getting a billion notifications at once. Okay, anyway, LG V10 versus V20. Let's just go based off of what... I know why. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. I had voice recognition on, so it's probably just getting some stuff, putting together words that weren't actually... my keyword for whatever reason. I'm gonna have to retrain that to be a bit better. But V10 versus V20. Hardware. From a hardware standpoint, when it comes to the feel in the hand, I think I like the V10 a bit more because it feels more solid. It feels industrial. It feels professional. It feels like the phone you can just drop and not on your brand new phone without having any sort of like expectations that the screen will crack. It feels very, solid, despite the fact that you could take the back cover off and remove the battery. If the Note 8 will decide to just keep its goddamn autofocus proper, V20, it has the aircraft grade aluminum on the back. All three phones, oh my god, all three phones are mil standard A10G compliant. So they're temperature resistant, shock resistant, and drop resistant. You know what? I'm locking focus. I'm getting real tired of that. Another thing that all these phones have in common, all three are Quad HD displays. These two are IPS LCD. This is POLED. This is 2880 by 1440, though. Both of these are 2560 because this is an 18 by 9 display. These are 16 by 9 displays. Okay, getting that out of the way. This phone has two front-facing cameras. One is a wide-angle lens. And I'll say, just right now, that the wide angle on here is better than what LG is doing in software because it's a dedicated camera. If LG were to do the same thing that they did on the V10, like sometime down the line, I would much rather prefer that than them putting it in software, because putting it in software doesn't have the same focal length. Let me show you what I mean, for example. Okay, so I go into the front-facing camera. As you guys can see, it's on this basic, as basic as it can be, normal lens, right? You go to wide angle, it's not as wide. The V10, yet again, it has its normal and it has its wide. See how wide that is? That's like insanely wide compared to what, you know, the G5, the G6, the V20, the V30 do. And I prefer that because you get a high quality picture still, because it just crops in when you do the zoomed in version of the picture. The V20 has as you guys can see, there's more light bleed on the secondary display on the V10. On the V20, it kind of looks more like an OLED display, which is why it kind of tricked a lot of people when it came out, because people thought, I heard a couple reviewers saying that it's a secondary OLED display, but it's not. It's all one piece, just like this is. So just keep that in mind. You see how much dark, if you like go close enough, you can definitely see it. If the phone will fucking focus. Like, it's not doing it now, but if you go close enough, you can see it. And if it gets bright enough, you can definitely see it. But it's not bad enough so that you can see it in bright daylight. It's not that bad. Snapdragon 808 in this phone, Snapdragon 820, Snapdragon 835. All three phones have 64 gigabytes of storage. The LG V30 Plus, which is not this model, has 128 gigs of internal storage. All four phones have 4 gigabytes. All four phones. All three phones have, 4 gigabytes of RAM. 3,000 milliamp hours, 3,200, 3,300. Both of these support Quick Charge 3. This supports Quick Charge 2. 5 megapixel on the front. Dual 5 megapixels on the front. 16 megapixel f1.8 aperture on the back. You have your classic LG, layout with volume up and down with the power and fingerprint sensor in there. Laser autofocus, flash. You have a dual camera setup on here, 16 and an 8. The 16 megapixel camera is a f1.8. The 8 megapixels is a f2.4. Laser autofocus, color depth sensor, and your flash. I swear to God, Samsung needs to work that out, because it's really pissing me off. On the V30, you have a 16 and a 13 megapixel camera. The 16 megapixel camera is an f1.6. The 13 megapixel camera is an f1.9. So your wide angle shots on here will be better, even better in low light. Again, fingerprint sensor on the back. On the side, you have your volume buttons. On this side, you just have your SIM tray. Bottom, USB-C. Everything is pretty much laid out the same, aside from the headphone jack being on the top. On the V30, micro USB on here, speaker, USB-C speaker, USB-C speaker, mic, headphone jack, microphone on bottom and on top, all that. When it comes to other lifestyle features, the V30 best these two in one category and falls short in another. It falls short where it doesn't have a removable battery, but it beats them in actually two categories. It has IP68 water dust resistance, and the overall battery performance is leagues better over both of these. The Snapdragon 808 for its time wasn't the best phone for, battery efficiency. Snapdragon 820 was better, but it wasn't the best at the same time. The Snapdragon 835 is not the most battery efficient again, because it's, it's a power hungry chip. It's made for flagship devices, right? But what Android is doing and, Android Nougat is doing in software. By the way, all three of these are running Android 7. Either 7.0 or 7.1. These two are running 7.1.2. I'm not sure which one this is running. Battery efficiency as well as a 100 milliamp hour increase compared to the V20 is a kind of like holy matrimony in a sense, because it gives you better battery life, more battery life. When the battery eventually degrades, you still have a good amount of battery life left on the phone, so you don't have to worry about that. But with these, since you can remove both batteries, you could just rip it off on the V10, and you have a button on the V20, and you can just take them off like that and remove the batteries. All three phones have Microsd card expansion, all three up to 2 terabytes. So if you want to get that new 400 gigabyte Microsd card, you can definitely do that and put it into all three of these phones with no issues. Which typically with Android phones is really no issue, because even back in the day, say you had a phone that said it only supported up to 32 gigs, you could put a 64 gig or even 128 gigabyte card in there. Like my friend had an HTC Evo 3D, and it said it only supported up to 32 gigs, but he put a 64 gigabyte card in there, and it worked with no issues. Always on display. And the legacy of the V Series, the secondary display. Obviously, as you guys can see here, the V30 doesn't have it, but there's a lot of functionality that they pretty much baked into the always-on display that pretty much nullifies that. As you guys can see, it started with the V10, the secondary display. It works the smoothest as far as operation goes, because the V20 is a bit choppy when it comes to operation, and I'm actually hitting that as well when I'm hitting that. But as you guys can see, you get your date, time, and weather on here. You get your quick controls for camera, Wi-Fi, flashlight, Bluetooth, and quick memo, and you get your music controls. When you open the phone, you get the option to have, say, a signature, the most used apps that you have. Let me turn the screen down so you guys can see it better. The apps that you most use, which it still doesn't look that great. Whatever. The apps that you most use, quick toggles again, your recent apps, your music controls, and you could also add like contacts. I don't have that set up on this phone because this isn't a phone I'm using for, calling, texting purposes. That's why I don't have it set up on here for that. But one thing as far as functionality goes that you can't get on here when it comes to notifications is being able to read the notifications on the secondary display when it comes up. And as well on the V20, as I said, you get the same pretty much toggles. I kept it pretty much unchanged, aside from the fact that I do actually have my most used contacts up here. That's pretty much the only difference. So yeah, as far as that goes, now let me talk about one thing that LG omitted. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm not going to talk about that right yet. As you guys can see, you get your battery percentage as well as, let me turn that, battery percentage as well as your notifications here. You swipe and you get your quick toggles. You swipe again and you get your music playback. You open the phone And you could get the option to have the floating bar, which gives you the same functionality as a secondary display, save for the fact that you can't add a signature. But in the always on display settings, if I can find it, you can choose to have your signature, which I am not gonna do because I like the big old clock interface. But yeah, you can do that if you so choose. But this kind of acts like, Air Command does with the Samsung Galaxy Note series, where it deploys out that you get your favorite apps, right? You get your screen write, expanded screenshot, which basically allows you to scroll and get like a whole bunch of like information from one page into one screenshot. You get I don't know what that. You just get a cropped image version of the screenshot, and then you have GIF. You can make GIFs. Get your favorite contacts, and you get your media controls. So it's essentially just the same thing. You can move it around. So say you want it on that side of the display, you can. If you want it up top there, you can. I don't know why I did that. Or if you just want it away altogether, you can just you can just remove it if it'll do it. You just remove it, and if any time you want it back, you could just press it right there in the notification, it'll show up. If you're watching a video or anything like that, it will disappear, but it'll come back instantly when you go out of the video or anything else. Like if you're in a game, it doesn't show up and stuff like that. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the fact that with this specific phone, you don't get the option to put 5 things down here in the navigation bar. You go to home touch buttons, right? You go to button combination. And as you guys can see, I have it set up like that. I normally have like Q slide up in here too, but I can't put it in there. As you guys can see right here, it says you can have up to 4 home touch buttons, which is one thing I don't like. That's one omission I don't like, but you still have the opportunity to deploy the notification shade and stuff like that. That's more useful to me, so I'm fine with that. I'm sorry, I'm reading messages when I shouldn't be, but so I'm fine with that. It's whatever. I'll get used to it. What else? As far as sheer performance goes, I will say one thing, and that's say you don't necessarily want the highest end phone, but you want something, and I'm gonna put this in 2 categories: audio and just overall performance. When it comes to overall performance, you can't really go wrong with either of these. The V10 lags behind, and like say you want to do gaming, I'd say dodge the V10 altogether. If you want that, go with either the V20 or the V30. But if you want an pretty much unbridled experience when it comes to that, go with the V30. Because it'll work best on here. Especially due to the fact that you can actually choose how detailed you want the graphics and the frame rate and stuff like that on here. You can't do that on here or here. What else? The V10 versus V20 when it comes to smoothness, I'd say go with the V20 if you want a smoother experience, but the problem is that these two phones slow down. This one not as much, but this one you can actually feel it actually having a bottleneck because of its processor, not because of the software. The V20 is better, but I think the problem with the V20 is you get more like display issues like screen burn-in and stuff like that, which is something I didn't really notice until a year later. I didn't get it until like I actually to the ironically enough, I didn't get those issues until the V30 was announced. So that's pretty much it as far as that goes. I'm getting real tired of shit coming up, but I can't really do anything about that. Can't put it in, do not disturb mode right now, so I'm gonna just keep it the way it is. Speaker quality. Speaker quality on this is good. It's not the best out of the three. The best out of the three, bar none, is the V30. But then again, they're all just mono bottom firing speakers. This doesn't have stereo speakers, and this doesn't have stereo speakers, even though it was rumored on here. Doesn't have it. But the audio gain, which is something that LG has been pushing with the V series for quite a while, ever since the original V. I need to. Oh, fuck. I can barely see because when I'm just looking at the phone is dark, but the Note 8 brings a brighter image, so I can actually see it when I look there. But as far as this goes, the V10 is still a good phone if you want an MP3 player. I'm not going to say it's terrible at all. It's actually very good and competes very well. Like, it does better in some cases, like clarity-wise and, like reproduction of sound-wise than my Note 8 does. But the amp output is pretty low. So if you want a loud experience, go with either the V20 or the V30. Where differences don't really matter, in my opinion, is between these two. Because from what I've heard on the V30, it's pretty much the same. I could hear a bit more sound on the V30, but it's not enough to be like, oh, this is bar none way better than the V20. Because it's not. They both have a quad DAC. This just has like a regular DAC. Or regular hi-fi DAC, rather. It doesn't have the quad DAC. But the differences between the V20 and the V30 are... Oh, shit. Sorry. Handling two big phones in each hand is kind of hard. Wait, so I actually need headphones plugged in to... Give me 1 second. Alright, give me 1 minute. Alright, sorry about that. So, enable for me to actually show you guys what I mean. I have to plug in headphones and able to access the quad DAC settings, but with the quad DAC, there are certain things you can do on here that you can't do on the V20. You're not able to have sound presets or digital filters. Let me go back. You aren't able to have sound presets or digital filters, which actually changes how things sound quite a bit, actually. It's not just something that's very minor. It's something that actually has a difference if you actually listen. You still get to do like this granular control, like say you want more balance in your right ear than your left. Say if you're like hearing, like say if you're talking to somebody at the same time but don't necessarily want to take out one headphone, you can do that as well. But one thing that the V20 or the V30 don't have that the LG V10 has, which is something that I think the G4 also has, is the ability to say, I'm getting real sick of these. Not that. say if you want to, say if you have Bluetooth headphones in, but you want your friend to listen to what you're listening to, this, oh God. The software will act as an earphone splitter. So if you have Bluetooth headphones plugged in, right, or if your friend has Bluetooth headphones plugged, or Bluetooth headphones, they can connect them to your phone or vice versa, and you guys can listen to the same thing or watch the same thing. And that's something that is really cool that I wish LG would bring back. That's one feature that I like. That is a very good convenience feature that they should keep on these phones, especially since these are audio-centric phones as well as video-eccentric phones. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Audio, bar none, if you just want the best of the best, I'd say go with the V30. But if you don't mind and you don't like the build of the V30 because it's glass and you don't like OLED and you prefer LCD, go with the V20. You're not going to really go wrong. One thing I will say, though, is that my particular V20 unit has, like, a problem where headphones tend to, if the fucking phone will focus, man, where headphones tend to be a little bit wobbly, like the specific headphone jack, and it's not the headphone jack, itself, the headphone, connector itself, because on here, it doesn't do it. And on my Note 8, it doesn't do it. And on my V10, it doesn't do it. But on the V20, for some reason, it does do it. On mine, anyway. If you have a V20 and it doesn't do that, that's actually good. But, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Sorry for having the phones like that. But, between these three, I would say if you want the best, you got to go with the V30 because it's future-proof. It has water resistance, which makes it more durable, arguably, but also put a case on it. I actually got this case for it because I tend to like Tech 21 cases. This isn't, God forbid if I ever get sponsors, but this is the first time I actually put this case on here, but it feels nice, it looks nice. It's not a thick case, but it's a durable case as well. And if you're a Flossie Carter fan, it has that good old-fashioned razivity, slam boy status. So yeah, as far as that goes, if you don't mind having a case on your phone, go with the V30. If you want a phone that's durable, but the problem with the V20 is its camera bulge. So keep that in mind. The V10 also has one, but it's not one that's terrible because it has a ring around it, so it's protected. As far as heft goes, the V10 is by far the heaviest because of these stainless steel rails. I've heard online that the V30 also has stainless steel rails, but I can't really confirm that because these could be, but I'm not too sure, so I'm not going to say that it is. Both of these phones have IR blasters. This one doesn't. So if you also want a remote, go with these two instead. As far as video and camera capabilities, though, this competes very well still with both of these phones as far as main camera goes. If you want that wide angle, go with the V30. Don't even consider the V20, just go with the V30 because it has more clarity and is better to use in low light. So that, bar none, is a reason to go with the V30 if you want that wide angle. There's no type of portrait modes or anything like that. But as far as like granular features go, both All three of these phones have like a plethora of features. Well, this one not. This one doesn't have all of them in there due to the fact that the second screen is here and it has some on here, so you don't see them all here in the mode section. And here is pretty much the same story, but it has the same camera interface as both because it's been updated. But the kicker about this phone, though, is that you can take pictures with the full resolution of the camera, also in 16:9. So if you want that, get this phone. And that's actually one thing I do like about the V10 is that you can do that as well, which is why I'm very glad I was able to get this phone. But there are a couple of features that the V30 has that the V20 doesn't have. Say you go into manual. Say if you go into here, you don't get send a video with the V30 in manual mode. You don't get graphy, which basically allows you, it teaches you as well as guides you in a way to say if, you know, a shot is underexposed or something. It'll do that. Underexposed. Try adjusting ISO or shutter speed. It'll tell you that. And it does that really well, and I like that a lot. Because that should entice more. I forgot I have face unlock on, so it literally just unlocked while I was doing that. But, you know, that's something that's very cool and very nice. I think that should entice more people to use manual mode because it'll teach you how to do it rather than, you know, you having to just go into it like you did with the V10 and the V20. Say if you came to the V Series with the V20. So as far as this goes, let me end this video. The V Series to me stands for something that it captures a certain magic that even the Note series can't capture anymore. Even despite the fact that it's no longer a unique, it's no longer a unique phone in the landscape when it comes to the V30, right? LG to me did a way better job at keeping the V30 faithful to its brethren, its older siblings, right? It didn't just, slap a glass back on it, slap an aluminum frame on it, and, take the second screen out of it and just say, fuck it. It's just a taller G6 with more, control over your stuff. It didn't do that. It gave the fans of the V Series stuff that, a lot of people loved about the secondary display. It gave V Series fans stuff that you will love about the camera. It does a lot of stuff that is very good. The V Series to me changed what I valued in phones. When I had the Note 5 and had the V10 as well, I didn't necessarily think the Note 5 was, a better built phone. Because in my opinion, a better built phone is a phone that'll last without a case, not a phone that'll break as soon as you drop it. And that's one thing that the V30 has, against it, in my opinion, over these two phones. But at the same time, that's not necessarily the baddest thing ever. Because it's still mil standard A10G compliant. And I can actually trust that spec due to the fact that I dropped my G6, which is also mil standard A10G compliant, and didn't have any problems with like cracked glass or anything. I think it's a real underrated feature that more people need to utilize, Giving people that, peace of mind is something that more manufacturers need to do. Rather than say, oh, it's just more durable, like Apple did with the iPhone 8. But you know, that's pretty much it as far as this video goes. Are there any V Series fans out there, or any, like, you know, converts from, say, the Note series? Because I know there's a lot of disappointed Note fans and that are looking at the V30 and being like, they want that phone. Let me know what you guys think of this. This is bar none probably my favorite smartphone line, period. Because of what it gives you, because of what it offers. Sure, it's not the best when it comes to auto mode, when it comes to its camera. Sure, it's not the best at literally everything. But where it is the best at is where it matters to me. And that is what the V Series is to me. It's not just a phone. It's a tool. The V10 stood out in that regard because it made you think that it was a tool. It wasn't just a phone. You know, the V20, same thing. The V30 might even be the same thing as well. I can't say yet, but we shall see. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. Again, in the comments, let me know what you guys think of this. Sorry for making it a long video, but this is something that is it's key to me, right? Because this phone line, the V20 particular, started this channel, basically. So, as far as phones go. But yeah, that's it. Have a good one, you guys.